You're listening to School Counseling Simplified, a podcast with easy-to-implement strategies for busy school counselors. Here's your host, Rachel Davis from Bright Futures Counseling.
Raise your hand if you're ready to finally stop taking work home with you and actually start taking a lunch break. Or spend more time helping students, the reason you got into this profession, and less time doing stuff like bus duty. And if you're ready to finally use data to showcase the importance of your program and the progress your students have made. If any of those things sound like you, then I have got the ultimate solution for you, and that is my stress-free school counseling course. Now you may be thinking, wait, you've talked about this before. I have. So my stress-free school counseling course used to only be launched a few times a year, but now it is available all year long. And it is at a discounted price. This is perfect if you're the counselor who wants to work through it at your own pace. If instead of going through with a cohort and doing things together, you want to get to it when you can because you have a busy schedule. But first, let's see if you're even the right fit. Does this sound like you? You're a new counselor who wants to get started on the right track and not make mistakes and then redo things later. Or maybe you're a veteran counselor and you're feeling burnt out. Or maybe you're just a counselor who feels overwhelmed and stretched too thin. It's so hard to do all the things at once. Or maybe you're a counselor determined to change your program from reactive to proactive. Well, you're in the right place. Stress-Free School Counseling is totally for you. It's a 5-module digital course. So what that means is you get to watch video modules of me talking to you, just like I do here on the podcast, and teaching you in different areas like scheduling, organization, data collection, advocating for your role, and handling pushback. If this sounds like something you may be interested in, if you're a lifelong learner and can't wait to improve your counseling program, you're going to love this. And of course, it's stress-free. Head over to stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/enroll to get started today. Hey there, thanks for listening to another episode of School Counseling Simplified. Guys, it is December. This is crazy. I feel like 2022 went by really fast, but it's been a good year as well. I hope it has been for you. So this month, I'm going to be talking about a lot of different things, but all kind of holiday related. And I want to start it off with just a holiday resource, Roundup, because I know this time of year is really busy and sometimes the schedules are crazy, especially if there's assemblies or special events, which I'm super thankful for those things this year because I feel like they were canceled the last 2 years. So it's usually fun, exciting stuff, but it does make your typical schedule a little more stressful. So if you're a little type A, you may be like, why are things messed up right now? But don't worry, I'm going to provide you with some fun and easy things you can do with your kiddos that are seasonal, so it'll keep them engaged and excited, but also that kind of give you a break from like planning and stressing out. So I have 8 things for you today that I think you're going to love. So let's dive in. First up, self-esteem ornaments. So this is a fun activity you can do with your kiddos. I've done this before at like a counseling Christmas party, and I have a blog post about that I'll link to in the show notes. But basically it's super simple. You can pick up some of those bulbs, like Christmas ornament bulbs. Try to find some clear ones. You can get some on Amazon, or you could just probably get them at Dollar Tree or wherever. And then you're going to have your kids write self-esteem statements about themselves. So these are those like positive affirmations. I am beautiful, I am smart, I am kind, I am funny. Anything they want to write, I'm strong, I'm resilient, I am brave. So you can go over, these affirmations together and brainstorm some, then have the students write down the ones that speak to them the most, or things that they love about themselves, or things that they're good at, any self-esteem little statements that they want to write. And then you're going to have them put those pieces of paper inside the bulb, so you'll be able to read some of them from the outside because the bulb's clear. And then you can send them home with kiddos and they can do whatever they want. If they celebrate Christmas, they could put them on their Christmas tree. If not, they could just hang it in their room somewhere as a fun reminder of how awesome they are. So that is my first tip for you, self-esteem ornaments. My second tip for you is to do a countdown to winter break. So I know you were probably already counting down the days to winter break. Even though we just had Thanksgiving break, you're probably like, oh my gosh, I'm so ready for this holiday break. So a countdown calendar is a great way to do this. I originally created this resource because I was inspired by like an advent calendar that you use at the holidays. But basically it's a little calendar with different flaps, which count down how many days you have left until school break. So you can just, get a piece of paper, do some little flaps. You could even do Post-it notes on top and they could lift up the Post-it notes. Keep it simple and totally doable for you. And then under each flap will direct to a different activity they're going to do that day. So it's cool because if you can kind of prepare this in advance. So if you have a group coming in or an individual coming in or just a hop-in student, and you're like, oh, but let's see, we have 15 days left of school. Let's open up the flap. And then, oh, it says we should do a anger management board game or something, or a social skills discussion card. And you can make them all holiday themed as well. So that kind of directs the kids on what they're going to do. And then I've had counselors reach out to me how they use this in different ways. Sometimes they'll have just the kids pick a random one. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure thing. Or sometimes they'll have the kids roll a die, and then whatever number it lands on, that's the number that they'll, look under the flap. It's just a cool, fun way to mix it up. It is kind of a lot to prepare. I do have a countdown for sale that I've created, so you get the calendar and all the included activities. There's like 20 of them, and they're all counseling activities that are holiday themed and winter themed. So I'll link to that in the show notes for you guys. But a countdown calendar can be a really fun way to get kids excited about counseling these last couple weeks. Then I have for you trail mix. So trail mix is always kind of fun to do with a group, especially if you're wrapping up your groups at the end of the semester. You could do this as like during your last session. And what you can do is you're going to have the kids make trail mix. So you could use things like, pretzels, nuts. Obviously, we want to be really mindful of nut allergies, but assuming it's safe for your kiddos, use those. And then like red and green M&Ms to keep it kind of festive. And basically, marshmallows. Marshmallows are a good one to add too. And whatever ingredient they're putting in, they have to do a different task. So for example, like, okay, we're going to put in the green M&M, then you need to share something you love about yourself. So this could be like a get to know you game, or you could also do it as like a review. So if you do it as a get to know you game, here's some examples of things you could use. Popcorn, name something you're good at. Marshmallows, name something that makes you smile. Pretzels, talk about a favorite holiday memory. M&Ms, talk about a good choice you made today. Sprinkles, name a goal that you want to achieve next year. So that's a way you could use it as a get to know you game. Now I did mention that you could use this at the end of a small group during your last session as something fun to do, but you could also make it a learning experience so that they're reflecting on what they've learned. So if it is a self-control small group, it could be like popcorn, name a coping strategy that you've tried. Marshmallows, name someone who's in your support system. Pretzels, talk about the last time you felt out of control. Things like that. So you can really cater it to fit the needs of whatever the topic is that you're working on with your students. So that is the trail mix. Okay, next up I have for you dressing an elf with I statements. Yeah, so this is a fun resource I've created. You could totally make one on your own as well. Basically, you just have a little elf, and then you're going to put different clothes on it to form an I statement. So you'll have a variety of hats or shirts or pants, and then you're going to pick different parts of the I statement, and the kids can build their own. So remember, an I statement is a really cool tool that we can teach kids regarding conflict resolution. So it follows the format, I feel sad when you ignore me because it hurts my feelings. Next time, please talk to me. Something like that. So we really want to give them this language and this template to use, so next time they're in a conflict, they feel empowered to resolve it independently. So the ELF is just a really fun way for them to practice that format. I've done this with a whole class lesson, and it was a big hit. But you could also do it at the individual level, in a small group, whatever. Like I said, I have a resource that I've created for this that I'll link to in the show notes, but you could also totally make your own. Okay, for the fifth idea I have for you guys, this is perfect for a small group, and it's where kids could take turns doing little presentations to share their own traditions. So we want to be mindful that not all students celebrate the same holidays. Some students may not celebrate the holidays at all, and we want to give them a chance to be proud of what their family does and to share it with the group. So I was looking at the ASCA Mindsets and Behaviors, and this really supports two areas in the social skills standards. One is to have positive, respectful, and supportive relationships with students who are similar to and different from them. So this would be a great way to help reach that standard. And also, one is cultural awareness, sensitivity, and responsiveness. So we want students to be sensitive to other cultures and aware of them. So that's why it's great to have opportunity for kids to celebrate what they do. Or perhaps they don't celebrate anything, and then they can share just a fun thing that their family does that's not related to a holiday. I think this would be a really cool idea that you could do in a small group to really build that empathy and meet those social skills standards at the same time. Okay, keep going with our holiday roundup. An elf control board game. So self-control, elf control. The play on words is just too good there not to use it. You could also do like self-esteem, I guess. But basically any kind of self-control activity you have, you can make it elf themed and call it elf control for the day, just to switch it up for the kiddos. I have a board game that talks about strategies and how kids can use those strategies when they're feeling out of control. So I'll link to that in the show notes if you want to check it out. 2 more to go. I hope you're taking notes and getting some good ideas of things you could use at your school. One, I think this is fun. So you may have heard me talk about before in the past, like doing a coping strategy scavenger hunt. So a lot of times if I'm introducing a concept and I want the kids to really focus on, the words that we're going to learn, like the name of the skills, then I will hide, pieces of paper around the room with those skills on them, and then the kids will find them, and then they'll share like, ooh, I got take deep breaths. Ooh, I got get a drink of water. Ooh, I got read a book. And then as they, go through their findings, you can kind of discuss what those coping skills are and how they can use them. So similarly, I thought we could do this, but make it a little seasonal by doing an unwrapping coping strategies, like a present thing. So you could, just write some coping strategies down, put them into boxes and wrap them, or bags, whatever. And then the kids could unwrap them to find, like, each kid gets a gift, and then they get to unwrap it and to see which coping strategy they get. And then they can trade or whatever to build the toolboxes that reflect the coping strategies that they want to try. So for example, maybe one kid got take deep breaths, but he didn't get sit in a comfy seat, and they want to trade. Or you could have multiples that way, because there's a chance every kid wants to use take deep breaths. So you could do it however you want, but I thought this would be a fun way, similar to the scavenger hunt, where kids could kind of like unbox coping strategies and then use those to build a toolbox they can use next time they need them. And lastly, this is another coping strategies one for you guys, but a lot less prep. It's a digital activity I have, so it's in Google Slides and Boom Cards. The Boom Cards are super fun to use, like in a class lesson, but it's talking about, coping strategies that you can use all year round with different scenarios, like if someone pushes you or if someone takes something from you, how can you calm down? But there's also a few seasonal specific ones on there, and I think these are really important to touch on, especially if you have a student who relates to one of these things. Like you feel angry and lose your temper when you mess up your gingerbread house, or you feel nervous when you have to sing carols in front of the whole school. Things like that. So if you have a student who you think that would be relatable to, then this could be a really fun one to do. You could also make up your own scenarios and type those in to make it fit your kids' needs as well. Okay, so like I said, that's a digital activity I have that I will link to in the show notes. So there you go. There are 8 resources. That's my holiday resource roundup. Most of these you can totally do for free on your own, but if you just, want to grab the template to make your life easier, we'll put those in the show notes as well. Like I said, I think this is going to be really helpful for you guys this time of year in keeping your students engaged and making your life just a little bit easier. Okay, talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening to School Counseling Simplified. You can find the links from today's episode in the show notes. If you'd like to connect with Rachel, she's on Instagram and Teachers Pay Teachers at Bright Futures Counseling. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes of School Counseling Simplified. Talk to you next week.